Hello, everybody. My name is Kavalier, and today we are celebrating the 1 year anniversary of the very first single I released under my personal name, Dylan Clotfelter, called Brother Keeper. Yay, I'm so excited. This released December 23, and it was officially published on YouTube on the 27th. And so the only place you are going to find this song is only on YouTube. But I still consider this my very first single. And I thought I'd record myself just talking about the song, talking about how I worked on it, and just overall the process of the end production of the song. So without further ado, let's take a look into it, shall we? I particularly very enjoyed the very intro of the song. The clean guitar solo, the riff is actually the motif played in the distorted guitar solo that you'll hear at the very end. But I started writing this song back in around October 31st. I had heard from church about the story of Cain and Abel, and I've heard the story many times, but it was probably at this moment that it sparked the idea to make it into a song. And so you'll hear the lyrics later about how I talk about it, but the clean guitar parts in here are probably one of my favorite riffs that I ever written during that year. And I'm so glad it actually got into a song that I fully produced. Speaking of which, everything that you hear in this is done by me. Guitars, drums, bass, vocals, the audio engineering. I set up the microphones. I recorded everything. The only few people that actually helped me were the engineers in the studio pressing record when I was in another room recording drums. And so that is actually going to be the same way I actually did the new single coming out, Prisoner. More on that later. But yes, everything was done by me, so we'll keep going here. I was told that my blood was spilled. First one murder, and my tale of two brothers. Great beginning. Seems no jealousy may reign, yet my brother seemed to think he was keeper. Oh, brother, I may be dead, but you're in grave danger. Banishment, now what you face. Wow, what great singing. At this time, I didn't have proper vocal training, and so this was me using purely no vocal training whatsoever. I had sung on a few things like in choir when I was in middle school, but that was the extent of my singing experience. And so I dreaded recording vocals on this because I particularly do not enjoy listening to myself sing, because I'm far from my voice actually being developed. And so I know down the road it is going to develop, but my goal right now is to keep making music, and I'm gonna have to just push through that, um, and or get more vocal training. Um, but I showed my vocal teacher this, and she said it was pretty good, and I'm like, okay, well, I don't believe you, but nonetheless, the vocals, they could be so much better. Did I mention I was sick at this point? I had suddenly gotten a cold on the day of the recording, and because it was so soon from the end of the year, which I wanted to release it by the end of the year, that was my goal, and it was so close to that, I just had to push through it, and I regret that decision because I felt like I could have gotten a better vocal take if I just reflect on it a little bit more. And so we're coming in the verse 2 right now, so let's get back into it. That was rough. The extension chorus, that was a rough note to sing and to hold out, from the lack of vocal training. But I'm going to peer away from vocals just for a second and talk about the riff in the chorus. The chromaticism here leading up to the Oh Brother is probably the coolest thing I wrote for the clean guitar section. And it's a hassle to actually play live because your hands it's an E minor going up chromatically, goes to E, to F sharp, to G sharp, and then it lands on an A minor. And playing that live, what you kind of have to do is put your middle and ring finger on the A and D string playing the actual like chord, but you're gonna have to figure out if you want to use your index finger and your pinky to go up on the E string. And so but I knew that riff blew away one of the directors here at Stanford University, so he said he really enjoyed that part, and so that made me happy. So let's get back into it again. Long wonder, so-called brother, keeper gone. I'm just going to pause right here. I know this isn't a really good pausing point, but this is right before the solo, and there's no good transition. But If you hear a little bit of a growl in the low end, that is probably one of my favorite tools to work with. Is a bass guitar running through a Morley Power Fuzzwah pedal. That thing just adds so much character to the bass section. It's not even funny. And some people hate it. Some people absolutely love it. And some people are, I'm one of the people that are absolutely in love with it, as long as it comes through with immaculate tone. And here it came through with a pretty decent tone. Speaking of tone, the guitar tones here are, when I was listening to it just now, I thought of Avenged Sevenfold. Very crunchy with a lot of high end, almost kind of sounding like steelish, like steel. Which was an interesting decision on my part, but you know what? It's enjoyable. I like it. I like the tone. It was a little bit too much on the gainy side, personally, now that I'm more acquainted with tone building. But coming up is the solo right here, and you'll hear what I meant at the very beginning of the motif in the clean guitar solo, coming right back to the distorted guitar solo. So let's take a listen. Ah, yes, the turnaround. I remember being in the studio with a bunch of people, and they said the turnaround at the very end, going back to the clean tone, just kind of tied everything in a bow. Someone said, metaphorically speaking, it kind of revamped the whole story of Cain and Abel back together, because how they saw it in their mind was that the distorted guitar parts was Cain and his wrath and his fate, while the clean guitar parts were Abel telling his story. And coming right back to Abel, so to speak, this turnaround at the very end, going back to clean guitars, Abel coming back and summarizing the story from here, which goes like this. Wrongful action. He stepped into the darkness flame, splitting pain. I was Abel, he was Cain. That's such a cool song. I love it. I still love it to this day. And man, writing that song was such a journey for me. Being in a studio and recording my own song for the first time ever. And I can't express into words how I feel right now, but if I had to use simple words, it'd be joy and accomplishment. And so that was Brother Keeper in its entirety, with a few notes in between from yours truly, the Kavalier. And so I want to talk about the production of the song just a little bit more. So as you know, I did record everything on this track. I did write everything, and I did play everything. I wrote the guitar parts, the bass parts, the drum parts, and the vocal parts. I wrote the lyrics, and then I recorded the lyrics. I recorded the vocals. The guitar parts, and the bass part. And I had help with the drum part because it was a separate room, as you know, because the control room has to be isolated so that when you're coming through speakers in the control room, it doesn't bleed through and come into the microphones that are nearby that are active. And so I had a few engineers just helping me press play and getting other things set up too, like routing and patch bays and the analog mixing boards that had DAW control. Mixing this song was the biggest tackle, however. Personally, in hindsight, there's a lot of compression going on in here and a lot of EQ that doesn't need to be EQ'd. And if I did a little bit less, I think it would sound better, which normally sometimes isn't the case. But for this song, definitely. I just tried way too hard on the mixing side. And so it's not overall a downfall, but it was just something, looking back, I should work on now. The story of the song is about Cain and Abel, brother keeper. I've heard a lot of songs that reference Cain and Abel, but in sort of the perspective of Cain's. And so when I heard the story at church and it sparked the idea of writing the Cain and Abel song, Brother Keeper, I wanted to do it from a different perspective. I wanted to do it from Abel's perspective. So I sat and contemplated, well, what would Abel say to Cain if he could speak to him? Would Abel think that Cain would repent even after his punishment? Something like that. And the question still remains to this day. And I always light up whenever I talk about this topic, because it's just so freaking cool. And finally, what are my thoughts about this song? Man, it's so good. And I personally, this song will always hold a special place in my heart because it is the first one. And this is the one that I really feel accomplished on, even if it was only released on YouTube, which you can find at Brother Keeper, and then right beside that, also type my name, Dylan Clotfelter. That's Dylan, and then Clotfelter. And for the video being posted on YouTube for a year and getting 740 views, it's something that I'm very proud of. And I wish I could have gotten to 1,000 viewers at that as a goal for it being released. But I didn't really think about that too much. I just thought about the next project that I'm going to work on, which is The Prisoner, coming out this December. It is a brand new song from yours truly, the Kavalier. And so I don't want to talk too much about this song because I might record another one of these to go in depth. Maybe I'll have you go through the Pro Tools session with me and look at all the tracks and files and all the cool behind the scenes stuff, like what kind of EQ I use and how my routing was like and how I recorded everything. But I can only tell you that The Prisoner is going to be the next step up from Brother Keeper. It's going to be better. It's going to blow your minds. And I'm super excited for you guys to listen out for that. So stay tuned for The Prisoner coming out in December. Thank you all guys for staying with me. I'm the Kavalier, and I'm signing off.